We're back on the Outback 2005 Subaru Outback 2.5 XT Turbo. We're doing a compression test and probably a leak down test. First things I did is remove the intercooler. You've got this hose, you've got a bolt here, 12 millimeter, and then there's a boot down in that area where your throttle plate is. You're just going to kind of get through here, get that boot off, and over here you have two 12 millimeter bolts that comes right out, and then the air box is right here. You've got two 10 millimeter bolts there, and you've got one hiding up in this corner here. It's a nut that comes out of this side. Just pull that all out, disconnect the sensor, and take out the battery here. And in another video I showed there's two 14 millimeter nuts on either side up underneath there that hold the motor mounts in. Like I said, I put that in another video. You got my jack stand right there, right underneath that line between the transfer case and the transmission. And we're going to go ahead and lower the lift onto that jack stand, and that'll jack the motor up. If you're doing that with jack stands and a jack, make sure you don't lift the vehicle up too far. With the motor and the transmission, because then the motor and transmission are supporting the weight of the vehicle. So you just want to get it up a few inches where we can get down into that area there. That's where our plugs are, in those holes right there. And on the other side, they're right there. Those are your spark plug holes. We're going to go ahead and get those plugs out. But jacking up the motor, I think, is easier because we got to do a compression leak down test, and it's hard to get the hoses in for that, to screw them in. So now we're just going to go ahead and lift the motor. And you feel the motor coming up 2-3 inches. That's about it. That's all you're going to get out of it. Next, we're getting right in here. This 12 millimeter bolt. There's a little plug with a clip on it right here. This is your coil. I'm just going to pull this bolt out and unclip that. No, that's not working. Put a little swivel on there. Let's get that bolt all the way out. Take a pry bar, put it right on that bolt, pop the coil out, sneak it up, and pop this little clip off. Push the back of it, pops right out. Next, we get the plug. Just get this spark plug socket in there. Make sure it's on there good. Get it loose and screw it right out of there. Pretty long plug. There she is. Also, you're going to want to take out this fuse right here. That's the fuse for your fuel pump relay. That process is going to be the same for all 4 of the plugs. This is cylinder number 4, the rear one on the driver's side. This is cylinder number 2. This is the hardest one. The one on the other side isn't as bad as long as you got the air box out. And that's cylinder 1, that's cylinder 3 on the other side. Next, just take the lubricant of your choice, stick it down in there, shoot the hole a couple times, and it makes this part go easier. And this is your compression tester hose. This is really hard to get in there if you don't have the motor jacked up. So that's why we did it this way. But it can still be a kind of a pain in the neck to get it in there. Got it nice and snug. Stop turning. Okay, we got this routed up. We're just gonna snap this on. Make sure this is on all the way or it will launch. We're gonna throw the battery in. Next, we gotta wedge the throttle plate open. Just open it and stick a screwdriver handle in there like so, so it's open. And we're ready to start cranking and see what we got for compression here. Okay, we got everything connected, throttle plate open. Go ahead and crank it for about 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds. Oh, that's leaking down. It's about 70 psi. Pull the battery out, move it over to cylinder 2, front cylinder. Thread it in there, make sure it's nice and tight. Throw the battery back in and go again. Battery's back in, we're on cylinder 2. Here we go again. It's about 110. Here we are in cylinder 3. Just thread it in. What's nice now is we leave the battery in. Area crank on cylinder 3. Or maybe not. Here we go again on cylinder 3. It's about 150. Threading into cylinder 1. Here we go on cylinder 1. It's about 110. Okay, here we just got a piece of coat hanger jammed into cylinder 4. We got a breaker bar on the harmonic balancer. I don't know if you can see that. And we're just gonna rotate that around, rotate the engine clockwise until we hit top dead center. Right about there. Go ahead and hook up our leak down tester. Okay, we got our leak down tester. Snap this out. We're gonna rotate this until it gets into that set area. Okay, we're right into that set area. And if you look on the left here, this is around 25, so that's your reference point. Snap that in, lock it down, and then connect the air line. The leak down tester threads into the cylinder, the same as the compression tester. Apply your air. Make sure that your breaker bar is still hooked up, because that might try to move on you. So you might have to grab that if the compression is good enough and hold it at top dead center. Here we're at moderate to high, right on the line, right around 70% loss. That's cylinder 4. Here is when you want to check where the air is coming out of. On here, it's mostly coming out of here. I'm not getting anything out of the coolant. I'm not getting anything out of the intake. And then you can check the exhaust as well. But watch, see how this pressure dropped down. All that air is coming right out of here. So that tells me rings. If it's an intake valve, it'll come out the intake. If it's an exhaust valve, it'll come out the exhaust. If it's a head gasket, it'll come out the coolant, obviously. If you don't have the cooling line disconnected like I do, then you can just take off this cap and you'll see bubbles in there. We're just repeating that process that we did on the other cylinder. Right at the top. Keep the breaker bar on there in case it tries to fly away on you. Again, we're gonna set right about 25, right at the end of the set range. You can take it back down a little if you want it in the middle. But basically you want this around 25 like we had last time. Click it in, hook it up. This is cylinder 2. Okay. Something's not right there. We're not on the compression stroke. It shouldn't be that way. So we're gonna do that again. Okay, we got that all set up. When you're not on the compression stroke, it'll do weird things, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, see how this just wants to fly away from me and then it starts jacking around with the gauge. You just wanna make sure you keep it at top dead center because it'll try to get away on you. This one we're looking at about, see how it's trying to pull my hand off? There we're at about 15%. If it's not trying to pull your hand off of there, then you either have really low compression or you're not on the compression stroke like we just were. I just had to do that again. Okay, we're on cylinder 1, top dead center. We got our set down, locked in. goes my bar. Oh, wow, that's tight. So yeah, we had about 15% there too. It's trying to rip the bar out of my hand again. Same process, run cylinder 3. Now this one we had pretty high compression on, so I'm gonna have to watch this bar. All right, we're gonna go ahead and hook this one up, and this bar is probably gonna pop on me here. Yep, bar's trying to move. So that one there, it's actually about, play around with this a little bit, it's actually about 8% loss maybe. If you get a good look at that. It was a little lower than that when I was playing with the bar. So this is what we used. Just a magnetic socket set, a cylinder leak down tester, a compression tester, and a 1/2-inch breaker bar with a 7/8 socket. I don't know if you can see that. All that's available on Amazon. Here is our spec sheet. 2005 Subaru Outback 2.5 XT EJ25 engine, single turbo. Engine spec sheet says 137 to 173 psi at 350 RPM. I'm guessing that's around the cranking RPM. Cylinder 4, 70 psi, 68% leakage. So that means that that cylinder has bad rings. I actually did a head on this because I found a cracked valve and I had leakage coming out of the exhaust valve, so I thought that was going to fix it. It didn't. I did a head gasket as well, and I still have a 68% leakage on cylinder 4. Cylinder 2 is 15%, 110 psi. Cylinder 3, 150 psi, 8%. So that one's good. That's probably pretty close to where it should be. All of them should be. And cylinder 1, 110 psi, 15% leakage. The main takeaway here is the difference between this and that. That is a substantial difference. When you have that much of a difference, even a difference between 110 and 150 is too much. When you got a 40% psi difference, or in this case an 80%, there's something way wrong. So this engine needs a ring job. Priced out a used engine, it's like $3,000. And another thing is, I've seen people use other kinds of spark plugs. This is the kind of spark plugs you should use on this engine. Anything else just doesn't work the same. These are what everybody recommends for these. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if it helped you. Thank you.